Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to be together. It is time for us to begin to imagine a new relationship between religion, this religion, and public life. To begin to imagine a way of living that is different from how we have lived until now. To begin to imagine what we can do together. I invite you to join in singing the hymn that was written by some members of our congregation a few years ago, Hand in Hand. You'll find the words of this, I believe, tucked into the back of your hymnal. It's just a little sheet like this. We've sung it a few times this year, and now it's good to sing it again. Do you or your neighbor have a copy of this little Hand in Hand? Will you raise your hand if you have this music? Because if there aren't enough, we'll have to rearrange ourselves. You'll have to sing right close together and share with your neighbor. And in fact, I was thinking that it might be good for us to sing this with our hearts together. So that will make it possible for you to share closely with your neighbor. And we looked at these words, the choir looked at these words this morning and thought, these are wonderful words except for just a couple. So we're going to change a couple of words in this hymn, and if you sing the words that are on the page, wonderful. And if you sing the couple of changed words with us, wonderful. And if you make up some other word entirely for these couple of spots, you're great. The point is to sing together, to be together in this. So the first line says, hand in hand in celebration, which didn't feel right this morning. So the choir suggests changing celebration to loving kindness. Hand in hand in loving kindness. If you want to write that on your sheet, you can. And if you want to just hold on to it, you can. And as you keep going through that first verse, you come to hand in hand in jubilation. So let's change that to this congregation. Hand in hand in loving kindness, hand in hand in a world community, hand in hand in this congregation. Hand in hand, this congregation. I'm going to sing it wrong, so it's okay if you don't. I invite you to speak the words of our covenant while he lights the chalice, and then I want to remind you of the story of the chalice. Love
is the doctrine of this church. Quest for truth is the sacrament, and service is the prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to respect the nurturing power within all of us. Thus we covenant.
The symbol of the chalice comes from the Judeo-Christian tradition in which one drinks wine or other holy beverages out of a cup. It is a religious practice that people share together. But in Unitarian Universalism, we use our chalice to hold a flame. And we put it in a chalice so that we can contain the fire, so that it doesn't burn us or go everywhere. And yet it gives us light. It lets us see things It reminds us of all of the fires and the lights in the world. And this cup of fire was started as a symbol for Unitarian Universalism during World War II in Europe. There were people who were in danger, there were refugees, there were people who needed to be rescued. And they spoke many different languages. And so when the Unitarians went to occupied Europe to try to help the people in need, they needed a way to be able to communicate with people with different experiences and different languages. And so they came up with this symbol of a flaming chalice so that they could show people, I am with you, I'll help you. And they did indeed help a lot of people. Some of you may have seen the PBS special recently about a Unitarian minister and his wife who were engaged in that work. And so it was initially just a drawing that people could pass hand to hand to communicate, to try to help each other out. And then it became a physical symbol, something that we light during our services every week. It's the fire of commitment and the fire of love. And it is part of our religious tradition that we are in that story. We light this chalice every week. And we'll keep lighting this chalice and that story every week. I would like to invite our young people to come forward and sit with me for a few minutes. You can bring an adult with you if you want to, or you can just stay in your seat if you want to and listen to our conversation. We'll talk for just a few minutes. You may have noticed that the adults around you have been a little nervous this week. Have any of you noticed that this week? Can you hear me out there, and can you hear the coming up from the people? And do you know why the adults have been a little jumpy? Yes. No. Because of the election, yeah. My son figured out that I was a little jumpy, and he's 3.5, so I had to figure out how to talk about it. And in his preschool, different people take turns leading the line. And so there's lots of interest in getting to be the line leader. So I finally said, well, what happened is that we chose a new line leader. And the line leader who got chosen this time isn't very nice to other people. And so we're worried about that, about how that's going to go. So he thought about that, and he and I talked together about what that means is that everyone else in the line, all the other people in the line, have to work extra hard to be nice and to be part of a line that keeps everybody safe. Because part of why they go in the line is to keep people safe when they're crossing roads and going out into the world. So when we're in the line, it's going to be a little different because we'll have to watch out for each other. Have any of you had anything said or done this week that wasn't nice, that was different and not nice this week? I'm glad that you don't have stories, because there are young people who've been in school this week who've had some not nice things said and done to them, because when the line leader isn't being nice, sometimes other people forget and aren't nice either. They're arguing about who's a better president, and there's fighting, yeah. Well, the adults and I are gonna talk a little bit today about how we not fight with each other about who's better. And we'll figure out some ways to have conversations, keep having conversations with young people too, about how do we make sure that we aren't fighting with each other? How do we make sure that everyone in the line is safe? You've been talking about the election a lot in social studies. Yeah. Do you have any questions or things that you're worried about you'd like to say out loud? You worried about Donald Trump not acknowledging global warming? Yeah. You're worried it will badly influence you when you get older? Yeah. You're worried that he can hurt some people and not know what he's doing? Yeah. Yeah, you're worried about nuclear war. So, the Unitarian Universalist Church is a place where we can talk about anything, and we will. So we'll keep figuring out how to have conversations, and we'll keep figuring out how to make sure that people are just as safe as we can make them. Last week, a member of our congregation gave our church a new table. It's just a little table. It's right behind you. It's just a little table, and I hope you'll come and look at it after the service. And it has the symbols of many different religious traditions. I'm going to say carved, Larry, but that's not the right word for what you do to it. Wood burned into the top of it. It's beautiful. And it shows that we're arm in arm together around this world. So I'm just so pleased that we have this table for this moment. And so I wondered if you would help me bless it with our holy water. And we'll keep it right up front here, and we'll thank Larry Kelly for it. So I have a little bowl of water, and I'm going to pull the table out here, and I would love it if you would dip your fingers in the water and put it on the table. And then it will be our table. It's a well-blessed table. We will let you go to your classes with your leaders, and we'll keep talking and keep being arm in arm. The words of the song are in the order of service.
One little person do, what can one little man do?
have 3 readings, one from Langston Hughes, one from Gwendolyn Brooks, and one from Jane Hirschfield. The Langston Hughes poem, I read this excerpt maybe a year ago. Oh, let America be America again. The land that never has been yet, and yet must be. Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. America never was America to me. All the songs we've sung, all the hopes we've held, all the flags we've hung, the millions who have nothing for our pay except the dream. They almost died today. Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet, and yet must be. The land where every human is free. The land that's mine, the poor man's, the Native Americans, the African Americans, me, who made America, whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain must bring back our mighty dream again. I'll say it plain, America never was America to me. And yet, I swear this oath, America will be. Speech to the Young by Gwendolyn Brooks. Say to them, say to the down keepers, the sun slappers, the self-soilers, the harmony hushers, even if you are not ready for dare, it cannot always be right. You will be right. For that is the hard home run. Live not for the battles won. Live not for the end of the song. Live in the along. It's 2 African American voices, and this is the voice of Jane Hirschfield, who is a white American living on the West Coast, who is also a Buddhist. She is addressing my species. Even a small purple artichoke, boiled in its own bittered and darkening waters, grows tender and sweet. Patience, I think, my species. Keep testing the spiny leaves, the spiny heart. I invite you into a time of meditation or your own quiet prayer practice. This is our time for patience, a time for catching your breath. For settling into this moment, which is still full of beauty and kindness and love.
Fire.
We are thinking about our country, about the people and animals and the earth that we live with. We're thinking about big questions. And our lives are unfolding day by day. Our family and friends are having joys and struggles also. We have to tend the fullness of life. And so we make this time for joys and sorrows when we honor the fullness of life. The joy and the sorrow, the tremendous and the particular. If you would like to put something into words this morning, come and stand with me by the piano. And we will listen to each other, perhaps listening to the quiet between the words the most.
My name is Nancy Fisk. My joy this morning is that my mom is here with me in church.
This is going to be hard. As some of you may know, I was very intensively involved in the recent campaign, and I just wanted to know two positive things. First of all, positive that Exeter and Salem worked together jointly for the first time and did a fantastic job compared to the rest of the state. Exeter and Salem have nothing to be ashamed of. But more importantly, I met, and this is a hope for our future, I met the most incredible number of young people in their 20s and 30s with undying energy and dedication and caring for their country. And it's my great hope for our future.
Hi, I'm Miranda Lamb. I also have a joy. As I was watching the protests around the country, I saw one of our own represented in downtown Boston with no fear, fingers held up high, which I cannot show which finger, in church. And my own child, who is away at college this year, for the first year, and I was worried about him. But he came out of radio silence and when we talked, he told me that he doesn't know why, but he was showing teachings from the UU that he learned, and he found strength in there to become tolerant. So our children are taking wings, and I have hope.
My name is Lauren, and today is the first day that I've been to church in over 30 years. I grew up a Catholic in Connecticut, and when I was 8 years old, we got a new priest at our church, and he proceeded to get to the stage and denounce gays and denounce divorce. And on the way home from church that day, my mother said, "Well, I'm divorced and your brother's gay, so I guess we're not welcome anymore." And I have never been to church since. And on this day, I said that I felt that I was really surrounded by selfishness and ignorance. And I needed to be surrounded by love, and so I came here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lisa. I moved to Exeter 23 years ago from Cambridge, and I remember driving up looking for a town in southern New Hampshire where to live, and came up through Kensington that back way, and I thought, gas station, Grange Hall, not much else, can't do this. And kept coming to Exeter where my then the fiance said, "There's sidewalks in Exeter." Yeah. Well, there are sidewalks, but there was also this amazing bookstore. And I just wanted to help tell everybody that if you didn't see the article in the paper, Dan celebrated his 25th year in business this year, yesterday. And I have been so grateful from the first day that we've had this wonderful store here in town. And I saw a lot of members of the congregation there yesterday, and I just wanted to congratulate Dan and thank him.
On the 11th was my son Case's birthday. He turned 17. He's working in the nursery, so during coffee I will go say happy birthday to him.
My name is Jennifer Morris, and I just wanted to let people know, who maybe don't already know, that Donna Schlafman and Rob Becker have experienced the birth of their first grandchild this week. Life does go on. Her name is, everyone is doing very well. She came in at 7 pounds and a bunch of ounces. And her name is Hazel Sloan Von Miller.
How's it going? It's Steve Hayes. I have a joy, I guess. This was the past election, obviously, many feel a certain way. I had the honor and privilege of actually going up to Portsmouth on Friday with a group of people, and standing on a corner with my son, and going through our first protest, what we call it. And my son was there. He was, well, he's holding a U. USA loves nothing pots. So I guess that's a first for me. I've never done that. I've never been particularly politically active. So my joy is getting off my fat butt. And I don't know if I'm the lion yelling to the wind or if I'm going to be the butterfly that changes the course of the storm. But that's my joy.
Just a quick little addendum. I floated up here the last month or so telling you we were waiting for the arrival of adopted babies, and unfortunately that did not come to fruition. And so we're supporting our daughter and her husband at this time of healing, and life has risks, and you move into them and you take them, and they're doing fine. They're doing okay, and it will be the experience will come again, and I know there's a child there somewhere. So thank you all, though. I know you've all been so supportive and sending your thoughts, and these babies still need them, so thank you.
Hi, I'm Steve Warrior. One of the privileges of running for public office is the opportunity to meet people on their doorstep or on the curbside. And the other day, while I was holding my sign over on the bridge, a young lady approached me who used to sit right back in there, Lily Kalika, who was really a very devoted member of this congregation. She came up to me and gave me a big hug and told me all the wonderful things that she's doing right now. But she asked me to tell you all that she is doing very well.
We hear the sorrow and the joy, and we hear how important our connections with each other. I tell you this story from Joanna Macy, which I have told you before. Joanna Macy worked in India where the Tibetan refugees were sheltering. She had worked with them for some time and had come back to the United States and then went back again, and one of the Tibetan Buddhist monks, one of the leaders of the monks, said he wanted to speak with her. So they had a meeting, and in that meeting he said, in the old Tibetan prophecy, it says that there will come a time on earth when the forces of destruction seem to be gaining the upper hand, when it looks like the future of the world hangs by a thread. And this, the Tibetan teacher said to Joanna, is the time of the Shambala Warrior. The Shambala Warriors work among the great forces to dismantle them, because the warriors understand that all of the things that are wrong are only wrong because humans have thought them up. They aren't true things. They are things that we can change by changing the thinking. But it takes people who are ready and willing to walk into the storm of the world and bring people out of pain and confusion. And the teacher said to Joanna Macy, now is the time for the Shambala warriors to go into training. How do they train? Joanna asked. They train in the use of 2 weapons. Now, this is a man who believes in non-harming, non-violence. And he said weapons. One is compassion. The depth of connection and awareness of pain in the world. The other is the insight into the interdependence of all beings and things. You need compassion because it gives you the fuel, the energy to get out into the world and do what needs to be done. It is how we know that there is pain that must be met. Compassion means not being afraid of the suffering in the world, not being afraid of your own suffering, not being afraid of the suffering around you. And that by itself can be too hot. It can burn you out. It can overwhelm you. And so you need that other tool, the insight that everything is connected, that everything is profoundly connected. The butterfly that might change the course of events. When you have that, then you know that this is not a battle between good guys and bad guys. You know that the line between good and evil runs through the landscape of every human heart. And you know that we are so interwoven that the web of life is in every act, that even the smallest act has repercussions that ripple through the whole web. And the teacher says that awareness can be a little cool, a little abstract. And so we need the heat of compassion and engagement to balance it. He spoke this story to Joanna Macy, and it was clear that he was charging her to be one of these warriors. And as she tells that story, it is clear that she is passing that charge to everyone she talks to. So she passed it to me, and I am passing it to you. Now is the time for us to be ready to walk into the storm of the world. It has always been true, and now it is more clear how true it is. And it may feel too big, and it may feel like it's overreacting. May it be overreacting. I hope that it is. But until we find out that it is in fact overreacting, let us train ourselves. Let us be arm in arm in this work to walk into the storm. There are many plans and many ideas, and this is a stage of coming up with the right approach. There will be a lot of bubbling up of what to do and where to go and how to be. Here are some things that I would like to ask us to do. I've talked about these before as well. When we go out into the world, when we talk with anyone, I ask that we not shame each other. And by each other, I mean other beings on the planet. And I'm still using Brené Brown's definition of shame. Shame being the fear that we are not worthy of belonging. There has been so much of that. And every time we shame someone else or dismiss them, we perpetuate the thing in the world that we do not want. And so I ask that you not do that in the world. And you can be terrified and full of anger and full of all kinds of dissatisfaction, and keep remembering that we're meeting pain, and the point is to make contact. When I listen to our president-elect, I hear a man who has been deeply shamed. So part of our resistance is to break that cycle. To talk to every being on the planet as if they are worthy of belonging. Because they are worthy of belonging. And people are going to do things that they shouldn't do. And we don't have to let them do anything. We can say, no, you can't do that, and maintain connection. Which is incredibly difficult, and we'll have to do a lot of training of our hearts and minds to be able to do that. And we can begin to think about what that would look like. It means, of course, practicing compassion for ourselves, allowing ourselves to have all of the reactions that we have. And in the right circles who are ready to listen, it's all right to say whatever you need to say. And then when you meet the world, find that respect and that seeking for connection. Because I think part of what has happened is that we have lost the awareness that everything is connected. I had a conversation when I was attending the demonstration in Portsmouth in which I practiced this. It's a longer story which I will have to tell you next week. But what I said over and over again is, let's not talk about the candidates anymore. We know that we're all kind of backed into our positions on that, and that we're not going to make progress trying to convince each other about the rightness or wrongness of particular candidates. What I want to know about is what's happening in your life. Tell me about your work, tell me about your family. And we had a conversation that was completely different. Then it started out as being about who was wrong and why. So I think it's about, tell me about your life. Let's not rehash what has been gone over. Tell me about your life. So I think we do have to train ourselves. We do have to be systematic about how we meet the world now. We have to have practices of meditation, yoga, learn nonviolent interventions, learn how to live with our anxiety and our pain and not necessarily act on that all the time in the sense of blurting things out to people. Learn to focus that into constructive action. That's how the spiritual work and the justice work are the same work. Then we begin to do this thing that's called non-complementary responses, which is when people are coming at us or coming at other people with anger or hatred, instead of meeting them with anger or hatred or shaming, we meet them with something else, with an invitation to connection, with an offer that there's another reality waiting for us, if we can go to it. The story that I heard on the radio about this was about the people having a party in the backyard. They were celebrating and enjoying each other, and a man showed up at that party with a gun. Have I told you this story? Backyard, summer, beautiful evening. They're drinking wine and being at ease and happy, and the man walks into the backyard with a gun and says, "Give me your money or use the gun." And they start to tell him, "What would your mother say?" And they try to sort of, yeah. And I think in some way that moment was probably started something in someone's mind, because he said, "I don't have a mother." And then they started to tell him what he was doing was wrong, and things were just escalating. And finally, someone in the group picked up a glass of wine and said, "Would you like some wine?" And the man looked confused for a moment, and then he took the glass. And then he drank some of the wine. And he said, "Oh, that's good wine." And then he drank the wine and he ate some of the food that they also offered him. And then he put the gun in his pocket. And then he said, and this is the most fascinating part, then he said, "Could I get a hug?" Can you imagine, how would you respond to that? They hugged him. Then he wanted everyone to have a group hug. And they did it. And he said, I think I came to the wrong place." And then he left with his gun and his glass of wine. And they found the glass on the front step in the morning, very carefully placed. He came in all aggression and attack. He came in full of pain and loss. Someone figured out how to contact his humanity, and everything changed. Call it Shambala Warriors, call it non-complementary behavior, call it imagining, call it living love out loud. It's what we are called to do now. And this community must become a place where we train ourselves, our hearts, our minds, our bodies, to walk right into the difficulties, to walk right into them and be full of warmth and compassion. It will be hard. It will be terrifying. It is the only thing that makes life worth living. We take up an offering each week to support this community, to support this place where we both shelter and challenge ourselves, where we take care of each other's hearts and begin to conceive of how we embrace the world. One of the pieces of paper that you've had in your order of service this morning is from the Caring Committee. We're wanting to expand the circle of people in our congregation who are ready to tend to each other's day-to-day needs during times of crisis. You can drop those slips into the offering baskets. There are candles available up front if you wish to light one silently during this time. Morning offering for the courage of this congregation will now be received.
Could use a little mercy. Fruits of his labor, falling right slowly on the his work is almost over. It won't be long. He won't be around. I love my father. He could use some mercy now.
Aren't the baskets underneath? Aren't the
My
baskets
brother
underneath?
no. Could use a little mercy now. He's a stranger to freedom, held to his and his doubts. The pain that he lives in is almost more than living will allow. I love my brother. He could use some mercy now. My church and my country could use a little mercy now. As they sink into a poison pit, it's gonna take forever to climb out. Carry the weight of the faithful, follow them down. I love my church and country. We could use some mercy now. Every living thing could use a little mercy now. Only the hand of grace can end the race toward another mushroom cloud. People in power will do anything to keep their ground. I love life and life itself. Could use some mercy now. Yeah, we all could use a little mercy. I know we don't deserve it, but we need it anyhow. We hang in the balance, dangle between hell and the hallowed ground. Every single one of us could use some mercy. Every single one of us could use some mercy. Go ahead, Mary. Coming to church, I'm glad you're Yeah, we all could use a little mercy. I know we don't deserve it, but we need it anyhow. We hang in the balance, dangle between hell and hallowed ground. Every single one of us could use some mercy now. Every single one of us could use some mercy now.
We're a little over our hour, and I'd like to talk to you for a few more minutes. If you really need to go, or if you need to stand up, please do that. And what I want to do actually is invite you into the imagining. there are a number of things that we could begin to do to train ourselves. And I think we need to let that bubbling up occur together for a little while. So when you go out for some social time, you will encounter a lot of things to sign up for. There are Thanksgiving baskets, which happen every year and have for how many years now. So you'll see that. Feed people, it's a good place to start. You may encounter Tony Tufts wandering the room with some sign-up sheets for conversations about our mission statement and asking some people to help a member of our congregation who needs just some daily help. I've forgotten what else, there's a lot of sign-ups back there. Looking at Mary, she says, it's not music, I know. Then on the wooden table in the community room, you will see that I have covered it with paper. And in the middle it says hope and engagement. At one end, there are sign-ups for chalice circles, which are small groups where we can have conversations. We started these a few weeks ago before our context changed. So there's that sign-up and a lot of blank space. The words are things that we might do, things that we might want to think about. And you'll see there's a variety of things there. Train ourselves in nonviolent civil disobedience, beginning with the Tim Christopher workshop on December 4th. Think about how we take money out of large banks and energy companies, be a sanctuary for people who are threatened with deportation, support refugee and immigrant communities, figuring out how to do that. So what I'm inviting you to do is to look at those things that are back there. And if you're interested in thinking more about one of them, write your name on it. These are not projects we're committing to. These are things we want to think about together. And so if there are several names under one of those, we'll get you together and you can think about how we might engage that. And then you will see back there's some paper like this. If you have a project or a direction, or if you have listened to the 350.org strategy session and you have some ideas about how we can connect with that, will you write your idea, your possibility on this very visible paper? We're just going to collect ways to engage our compassion and our insight for a few weeks here, and then see how to put it together. I don't know how to put it together, but I'm confident that this group of people can figure it out, especially if we do it together. So please look at those possibilities on that table and write down more possibilities, and we will begin. And love will guide us. Leave this chalice flame burning. This is our story. We live into our story. Please join in our unison meditation. The words are printed on your heart or in the order of service.
Go in peace, speak truth, give thanks each day, respect the earth and all creatures, for they are alive like you. Care for your body, it is a wondrous gift. Be gentle with yourself, live simply, be of service, be guided by your faith and not your fear. Go lightly on your way, walk in a sacred manner.